Hey everyone, it's Richard Metal Fan here, bringing you guys a brand new 2020 album review. And today we're going to be looking into the new album from the band Katatonia entitled City Burials, which was released through Peaceville Records. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Katatonia, they're a bit metal band based out of Stockholm, Sweden that formed in 1991. And I discovered Katatonia about a couple years ago. I think I saw somebody was posting about it, and I went and checked out some of their stuff, and they're pretty good actually. I was kind of impressed. So I have a few of their albums in my collection, and Katatonia are kind of like especially like their earlier stuff, like going into albums such as like Brave Murder Day and stuff like that. That they were kind of like more like just death metal or death and doom and stuff. But it wasn't until like around near the end of the '90s or so they kind of like more went into more like progressive metal and stuff for more like was just progressive metal, progressive rock, but have a little bit more of a darker kind of like tone, darker atmosphere with their stuff. Which is just pretty good. Which, I mean, I kind of like it. I know it can be a little bit polarizing, especially for like fans that kind of like been with them from the start when they first put out their first album. But I pretty much enjoy everything, and this album is of course the follow up to their previous album, which came out in 2016, the fall of Hearts, which pretty much was kind of like my introduction to the band and pretty much how I discovered these guys. And I pretty much think, does this album live up or exceed what the Fall of Hearts has? In my honest opinion, I think it definitely has. As I think they're just really, this album is pretty good, really impressive. I heard the first single from this album being, which I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I have sort of like a track listing right here. Here, if I could pull it up, I believe it's Glaciers. I can pronounce it, but it's a good. That was like, wow, it's pretty good. And then the whole album I've heard, it's really great. Just like the production on this album is just superb. Like, I don't even like Katatonia can do no wrong with production. The vocal work from Jonas Rensk, like he puts so much emotion into his singing. I just think he's a great vocalist, and his guitar playing along with Anders Nystrom's guitar work as well. Just both their guitar playing is great. The bass is pretty audible, well, from Nicholas Sandin. Then his bass is pretty great, and also forgot they have another third guitar player, is Roger Oiderson. I can never pronounce his name. So yeah, they have three guitar players, which is kind of nuts. And drumming wise, Daniel Mullen and is a pretty solid drummer. Does a really great job holding down sort of like the beats and everything. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is Hearts Set to Divide, which sort of like sets a somber and emotional tone for the album, with nothing but the haunting yet beautiful sound of the voice of Jonas as he sings the words, "In times of surrender, I am shedding my scars." And from this point forward, it is clear that this album is going to be an emotional journey through kind of like love, loss, life, and ruin. And there is no denying that this track picks up after the first two verses, just exploding with an offbeat kind of like progressive riff. Good way to start off this album. Then we go into Behind the Blood, which practically explodes into life with a vital riff that is and then what the winding solo, just like recalling of sort of like progressive like metal, kind of like Queen Strike, but also unquestionably Katatonia, and yet with a steely core that feels like more just like traditionally metal. But Behind the Blood is a bold track that will stay in sort of like the live environment. Anyway, moving on to Lacure. I can never say that, but yeah, but this song, it's a subtle, it's kind of like string laden piece that cleavers like closer to likes of like Latter Day over with sort of like its ripping kind of like electronica and naked vocals. Goes a little bit. It's just a gorgeous piece of music that sees Katatonia further exploring the realms of like progressive rock, and it just builds wonderfully. Like kind of like sounds like something from like the '70s, which is just really good. Rain, which has like a sonic cliff face, some coming off of something like Surprise of like the awkward time of like signature and blazing guitars. Adding sort of like a sense that Katatonia in 2020 are keen to explore new ground and wherever possible without ignoring those elements that lie at their core. And next on the album is called The Winter of Our Passing, which in my opinion is probably a standout track with its electronic rock vibe, simplistic yet groovy drum beats, and memorable guitar hooks. And this track proves that no matter how they choose to develop let them modernize their sound, whether it be taking an unexpected musical turn, it's always going to end up sounding like Katatonia, and that their fans will love them for that. Next on the album is called Vanishers, and this band has a tendency to sort of like have like collaborations with guest vocals on their albums, and this song has a guest vocals from a lady named Annie Bernhardt, who sings for a band called Full of Keys, which I need to check them out. I never heard of them, but I was impressed. I mean, her voice just sounds really beautiful and amazing. And her voice along with Jonas's complement each other's perfectly as they sing in harmony, while sort of like Jonas takes sort of like the lead and singing in like a haunting yet powerful chorus, while on the topic of like powerful choruses. I don't know, it just sounds like a good song. No, probably another one of my favorite songs on here. And then we go into City Glaciers, which filters sort of like bluesy guitar licks through the band's unique progressive lens with sort of like mesmerizing results. Flicker, in my opinion, this pretty much track is rather more of the vein of like traditional Katatonia, although sort of like the stuttering synth patches give it more kind of like an overtly electronic feel. The result is just stately, yet with a dark undercurrent that adds sort of like the sense of urgency to proceedings. Then we go into Lachesis. I can never pronounce that. It's just a piano-led short, poignant piece, which leads into the next song being Neon Epitaph, which is another track that seems to shake itself loose in the atmosphere and sort of like building up around it, with blazing out with real fire without sacrificing the sense of melody and sort of like the wonder that sounds elsewhere. And then the album closes with Untrodden, which is a gorgeous song that features the remarkable Gilmore kind of like esque solo that sort of like perfectly concludes all that is gone before. It leaves the listener feeling somehow refreshed and is woken from a lengthy dream. And it marks sort of like the end of one of the most satisfying, diverse Katatonian albums to date. And overall, City Burials by Katatonia is a great album. Probably one album I was pretty much surprised to seeing, and I'm also really hoping to see them. They're playing at Psycho Las Vegas in August. I'm really hoping this whole COVID-19 shit will be over and done by then. I really hope they can play as long as like all of our European bands. But anyway, new Katatonia is pretty great. If I give this album a score, I'm probably gonna give this a solid 9.5 out of 10. And so that's our review of the new Katatonia, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the new album, and I'll see you all in the next video. And as always, keep it metal.